Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Like the show said, um, getting getting into this week, I think there's one overarching theme that is probably the most important thing to talk about, and that's the Eagles. Let's call this what it is. I mean, we'll get to some Phillies breaking news. The Sixers are not worth talking about just yet. It's the Eagles. It is the utter dominance I think that we saw in the second half this week. That if there was ever a question as to whether or not this team really has it, whether they have the stuff to go deep into the playoffs and to win a Super Bowl, like that 22 team didn't, but that 17 team did. I think last week, especially that second half, showed that. The highlight being, that 10-minute drive to ice it. If you're Mike Tomlin, look, Mike Tomlin is one hell of a football coach, one of the best to ever do it. And when he's punting that ball, which I disagreed with, I thought it was a bad move then because you're down 2 scores. I think he was certain he was going to see that football again. And the cast of characters that did it too was a little Calcaterra, a couple Jalen Hurts runs, a Devontae Smith slant, Kenny Gainwell, a couple of back-breaking first downs. The way that team just kind of erased whatever goodwill, whatever hope Pittsburgh had left, man, I walked away from that game going, this team can beat anybody in the NFL.
Yeah, it'd be wrong to think any other way. That 10-minute drive, like you said, was super impressive. Of course, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, look at that. Yep. They're friends. Who'd have known?
Well.
Whole dance routine. I don't think non-friends plan out a whole dance routine, but that's just me. It was a lot for the confidence this weekend. Pittsburgh's offense had a whole, I forget how many exact yards. I believe it was 4 in the first half.
It was bad. I think they got rolling. I could be wrong. At one point, you're right. I think they got rolling towards the end of the half.
End of the half, yeah. It was most of the half they had 4 yards. The defense was just locking them up. And
I think we went into the half only up, 4, I think? It was.
Yeah, I know. We demolished them in yards, and we only went up 4 because of the punt return fumble, the Jalen Hurts fumble, a couple of mistakes that ultimately didn't cost us because the defense played so well. But can't make these against better teams. Jared Goff and company will make you pay. Sam Darnold and company will make you pay at this point. Jordan Love too. So I
think that's end of list.
Yeah, for the NFC, yes.
Look, we've won some games against some mediocre talent. You look at Jacksonville, you look at Carolina, Dallas, New York. I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but you get the gist. That's not the case against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is one hell of a football team. I know that they're not as star heavy as Minnesota, Detroit, Kansas City, et cetera. But that was a 10-2 football team, 10-3 football team. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh's the real deal. So I agree with you. You can't make those mistakes against good teams. But we did, and we still won. It's not like we beat Carolina, Jacksonville, Cowboys,
Yeah, but they didn't have George Pickens either, so their offense was really, really diluted to that point.
Yeah,
because he feels like their whole offense. He's their whole offense at this point.
Yeah, Najee Harris, you're a fantasy guy. Najee Harris hasn't turned out to be anything close to what people had originally expected.
No,
I think their leading receiver, correct me if I'm wrong, had to be Pat Freiermuth.
Had to be.
Which, hey, you'll live with that. That's because he's not, for the most part, matching up against, your secondary. He's drawing Reed Blankenship. He might draw Dean Vaughn. He's not dealing with Slay or with Quinyana Bay.
I bought myself a T-shirt with that on it. Can't wait to wear it on the pod.
Oh my God! I'm waiting. The hoodie looks pretty sick, with just the that one and Exciting White are two of the best.
Got some good merch. I'll give the city of Philly that much. We have some good merch.
Yeah, they get on pretty quick. But I think what was cool about this week is, great teams should know how to win ugly. And, the Eagles definitely have never been a flashy team this year. I mean, we went on the ground, but we were pretty much able to lean on our bread and butter all season. I mean, to Pittsburgh's credit, they were the first team to really shut down Saquon all year. So an ugly game for the Eagles is having to win through the air and through the screen game. And, I can't say enough about what Kenny Gainwell did. I tweeted it out, and I'm surprised a lot of people argue with me than they did, but people forget how good, Gainwell is. He's had some tough years to where, this year he hasn't been great all season. He really hasn't been at number 2 this year. Not that we've needed one. Last year, same thing. I mean, but you remember at a certain point, he was left alone to be the feature back in the backfield. I mean, there was a time where he was elevated to number 1 option. So he hasn't been. And, I mean, it was only 60 yards. It felt like every time we needed him and we needed a first down, it was Gainwell that was coming up with one.
Yeah, I mean, sure, he isn't the perfect back. Sure, who knows what his contract going to play out as. But right now, perfect number 2 for a team that runs the ball at the highest rate in the league. I know we have Saquon. He takes basically all the carries. But that spin move, that was nice. That was nice.
Oh, that was awesome. It's like he felt them closing in.
I'm starting to get these vibes that these guys are like the old squads, the 2022s, the 2020, the 2017. Mm-hmm. And like when the backups come in and start doing that, the vibes only increase, man, because it feels like everyone is on the same page.
He's Corey Clement. He might be Corey Clement this year.
We cannot slander the good name of Corey Clement, who had 100 receiving yards in that Super Bowl, man. I don't think people remember that, how good he was in that Super Bowl. I genuinely think people remember the Ertz touchdown and the Philly special and the Brandon Graham strip sack. Those are the 3. They don't remember how good Corey Clement was. And maybe
that
a little
catch
bit of
that he made in the back of that end zone was like 11 out of 10 difficult.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. But I don't think people remember that.
No, I mean, you forget about that. I think too many people forget about the Torrey Smith catch in Minnesota. There were some plays.
There were some plays that on that magical run that people forget about, and they shouldn't be forgotten.
What was so cool to see last week is, yes, you knew they were going to get A.J. Brown cooking, and that was apparent early. There was a great tweet. I wish I could credit who posted it, but it was a week ago. I don't remember. But it was early in the game. Jalen threw a ball where, A.J. Brown had no business getting this ball. I mean, it was short. He was covered. There was no reason to throw it to him. And someone said Jalen Hurts just threw a damn here ball. Like, just get off my back here, have it. Which was the right thing to do to get AJ rolling again. But, I mean, AJ's the storyline because of kind of what he said, and I think he was right to say it. He and Devontae both eclipsed 100 yards. When this passing attack is doing that, and both of those guys are rolling, I don't know what you do as a defense.
You just
hope.
Right? You got to force a turnover. You got to get pressure on Hurts. You got to blitz the quarterback, and you got to get him to fumble because he's obviously had fumbling issues in the past. He fumbled one this weekend, but what else can you do really except put pressure on Hurts and make him make a quick read? That's what teams have to do. And
that's what Pittsburgh did. I mean, Tom Brady was calling the game, and I think he's gotten a lot better as a broadcaster for one.
I couldn't believe when he called Jake Elliott David Akers. I had to inject.
That was
crazy.
That was great, but he was bringing up how he thinks that Philadelphia offense is at its most dangerous when Hurts is ball in hand, step out, like it's rhythmic like that. And I couldn't agree more. I think Hurts is a very good passing quarterback. I'm not part of that camp where it's like, oh, we'll make him throw the ball. He's not good. He's very good. What gets him in trouble is if you give him too much time and he starts overthinking things. And you can see him. You can see it when it happens because, especially when you see those bird's eye views of plays, and you'll see A.J. Brown 8 yards over the middle. He's got that. You'll see Calcaterra on a crosser. He's got that. and you'll see Hurts go, no, something bigger. Something bigger. That's what gets him in trouble. When he's quick, he's as efficient as they come.
The all 22 of some of these Hurts games can be brutal when you watch them.
Yeah.
It's some of it's really ugly, and you're gonna have to live with it. Saquon masked a lot of the errors. AJ Brown masks a lot of the errors. So I get where people are coming from. Like, the surrounding talent does wonders for Hurts, but at the same time, I'm in the middle. You say he's a great passer. Everyone says, oh, he's horrid. I'm in the middle somewhere. I'm like in that middle line where he's good when he has to. He has it in him. We saw it in that Super Bowl against Mahomes where he just went dry for dry with them. It was absolutely ridiculous.
That was otherworldly. I don't know, because you watch a little bit more of the advanced tape than I do. I do believe, as much of a Jalen Hurts apologist and believer as I am, I think that was the best football Jalen Hurts has and probably will ever play at this level.
I get him. Yeah, unless he has it in him again in a Super Bowl or something, but I genuinely agree. I think that's the best ball we'll ever see him play, which it's a shame that ended in a loss, and that's a whole nother thing where other show.
Because think of that roster. I mean, and that's not taking anything away from Miles Sanders. He was a hell of a back in Philadelphia. Hasn't had to do much after. But there wasn't a Saquon Barkley that year. So that game, Jalen Hurts had to put the team on his shoulders quite literally and throw us through a Super Bowl. If this year's team, if we get to the Super Bowl, we meet KC again, and it turns into a throw off between he and Pat Mahomes, I think all of Philadelphia is going to sit here and go, well, we're fucked, because that's not the kind of game we want to play. It's so bizarre that Super Bowl went that way, and he went shot for shot with him as long as he did.
Maybe Eagles quarterbacks just have it when they get to the Super Bowl, man. I mean, we saw Nick Foles do that with the GOAT. So, like,
well, they're 1-2 in best ever Super Bowl QBR.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, Foles 1, Hurts 2.
It's ridiculous, and like I'm looking ahead, and the Lions are not the team that they once were with all these injuries.
No. Unfortunately, because it's bad for football.
I'd like to see a fully healthy Eagles team versus a fully healthy Lions team, but I don't think we're going to get that. I mean, there's the race for the 1 seed. I feel so bad for the fans of the Lions, like, honestly. Like, they had that collapse last year. And believe it or not, it could be 1-2 Minnesota, Philadelphia heading into the playoffs. It's very likely that the Lions could fall to the 5 seed, and then we won't have to go to Detroit. So, like, I'm more concerned about going to Detroit because that offense is just so good, and David Montgomery's probably going to be back. They were saying it's not season ending now, so I don't know what the timetable is on that. So they haven't released a timetable on that yet, but
he just had MCL surgery.
Yeah, I don't know, but they say he's coming back. Schefter said he got a third opinion today. So you got to start thinking about the playoffs. I mean, the 1 seed is in our reach now. Like, I mean, it would have been nice if the Bears beat the Vikings on Monday Night Football. I feel like that would have done wonders for us. I like our schedule coming up here. I think Washington's going to be a very tough test. I think tougher than Thursday night because they're going to have time to prepare. Thursday night games are really weird. And they have Marshawn Lattimore now, who they didn't have in our first matchup. So they're going to be a little bit of an upgraded team. I feel like – was Brian Robinson inactive for that game?
No, I thought he played.
I'll have to take a look. There was someone else inactive that was key that's probably going to be active, but I can't put my finger on it. But we're going down to Washington. Hopefully there's no disasters on the field like the bleachers almost falling on Hurts. Hopefully there's none of that, because that would be an absolute disaster. But I feel like this Washington team is very tough. I don't think it's their time yet. I said this last time. I think they're a couple of years away, but man, they're going to be our biggest concern coming down the line here. These next.
Well, yeah, they're our last true test, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Dallas is always going to play us hard week 17. The Giants, I think, by week 18 are going to be turning on each other, so I'm not too worried about that game.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Imagine being a fan base. Imagine being that fan base. I mean, you got your star wide receiver who's already pretty blatantly angry about the way things are going. Dable, who I still think is a good. What's up?
He played. I'm forgetting someone else. Probably mixing up someone on the defensive side.
Yeah, it might have been. But Lattimore coming back is going to be noticeable. I mean, he's an all NFL, all pro corner. And I mean, look, you remember that last game. Some of it was what the Eagles did. Also, Jaden Daniels looked probably the worst he had all season. He's looked better lately. Terry McLaurin was non-existent. They're gonna find a way to get him the ball.
I don't know. I don't know about that one because Cliff Kingsbury really didn't do a good job scheming Terry McLaurin in that game.
Yeah, but I mean, when you see a team a second time, I don't know. I'm expecting a tough game. I would be very surprised if Philly wins this by more than a touchdown.
I think it'll be close, and yeah, I totally agree. It's just one of those things where it's going to be a tough game, and I'm going to like this going into the playoffs, and hopefully the things shake out for us. I believe the biggest one that we have to root for is Atlanta for the points, for like the strength of schedule or strength of I forget what it is. I think it's the strength of schedule points tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And Atlanta on Sunday night now. They're mixing up the schedule. They're getting all crazy now, but that's the biggest one that we have to root for, I think, in this upcoming week. So we'll see how it all plays out. I mean,
yeah, we got to take care of business this week and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, look, no matter how you slice it, the Eagles got to win it. Because right now, I believe we're technically behind Detroit and Minnesota, although they're going to beat up on each other. So if we win out, we're guaranteed to jump at least one of them.
I believe so. Because they have a game remaining against each other, I believe.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think that's week 18 too. So welcome to Sunday Night Football.
We're all 12-2, but they have to play each other. So
yeah, so one of them's going to get knocked down, but it's the loss against the Falcons that really hurts us for strength of schedule and conference or strength of wins. Atlanta's the one that really hurts. Yeah,
but like you said, I mean, Detroit's not the team they were. Look, Minnesota won last week against Arizona. Did you watch that game?
I watched part of the Bears game.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't know why. But
it was either that or Falcons Raiders, and I was sweating fantasy football, so that's why.
Minnesota didn't look great most of that game because Arizona didn't play well and they were hanging around. Sam Darnold looked more Sam Darnold-y than he has. I mean, he's trending in the wrong direction the second half of the season. That's not news. But Minnesota, I think, is there to be had. And honestly, so is Detroit now with the injuries. I mean, both of these teams are similar record-wise to the Eagles. I think both teams have a different trajectory than Philadelphia does. We're playing some of our best ball at the right time. And look, Minnesota's winning, but they're winning ugly and they're winning with a lot of mistakes. And Detroit, God bless them, I mean, they're running out of guys. So if the Eagles handle their business and they can finish the rest of the season, I think that one seed's there to be had.
I think it is as well. And, you know, they do have some tremendous coaches, which kind of scares me with Sirianni a little bit. I know we have to give him his praise because he just keeps winning. Like, it kind of scares me a little bit that one of these coaches will out-scheme him. Kevin O'Connell's really good on the offensive side of the ball. Brian Flores is really good on defense. And then, you know, if you haven't heard Brian Johnson's name, it's not Brian Johnson. It's Ben Johnson. Oh, gosh. I'm having Eagles flashbacks here.
Yeah, Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's a hell of a coordinator. But when you talk about Detroit, look, you got to look at Detroit the same way you look at Philly. Look, Ben Johnson's a better coordinator than Kellen Moore. Not by a gigantic margin. Kellen Moore's done a great job this season. But you'll give the edge to Ben Johnson. They have their own Nick Sirianni. I mean, Dan Campbell is one hell of a football coach, and I love what he's done with Detroit. But he's got that same devil on his shoulder, man.
We saw it. Last season against the Niners in that championship game, which they should have won by like a country mile. Like I feel like everyone remembers that, but it's he'll get himself in trouble. Yeah, I think the injuries, which are very unfortunate, and like I said, I want to see two full strength football teams take on each other. Detroit's run game has kind of been lacking as of late. I just saw James Cook absolutely gashed them. Josh Allen had 2 rushing touchdowns. Like Saquon and Hurts could have a big day if we play Detroit in the playoffs. If these guys don't come back, which, like I said, I want them to come back, but
I think
the prep for scenarios.
Hutch initially was
Hutch is Super Bowl. Hutch is Super Bowl. I'm talking. Is Aleem McNeil's season over?
Nah, well, I don't.
He got hurt this Sunday.
There's 14 guys who are hurt. I can't possibly keep track of them all.
I'll let you know.
But yeah, I mean, Detroit would be a fun one. Dude, can you imagine Minnesota having to come back to the link? That would likely be, well, if we're able to get the bye, they would probably be NFC Championship game at the link again. Which, I mean, you want to talk about Vietnam flashbacks?
Those are some bad flashbacks. Wow, that game will go down as one of my fondest memories. Like that and the Super Bowl, like you said, that Torrey Smith catch. Just who was it? Patrick Robinson with the pick six. Oh man,
that's when you really started believing. It was like, holy shit!
Oh my gosh, we could do this.
Yeah, because that Atlanta game was ugly. I mean, we probably should have lost that. Jalen Mills didn't play that ball great. Julio Jones, for the first time in his career, misread a jump ball. So you weren't feeling great, but then when that Minnesota game kicked off, I was like, holy shit, this team's got a chance.
We could do this.
And I'm waiting for this team to have that moment. I mean, they've been consistent all year, which is awesome, but you're waiting for that moment where they blow the doors off somebody really good. And you have that, oh shit, here we go kind of feel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're going to get that, because if we get the 2 seed, we're playing the 6 seed. And, the NFC wildcards are good, but, like, are they in that category of Minnesota or actually, it might be Green Bay now that I think about it. So,
which I would rather not.
Wait, no, we get the 7. I'm confused. My bad.
Yeah, because only one gets the bye. So
only one gets the bye. That's why I'm confusing myself with the old playoff format. So we get the 7 seed, which would likely be. I'm trying to think. Washington.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be anybody from the NFC South. They're not good enough. And
the NFC North got 5 and 6.
Yeah, so
and the NFC West is just fighting amongst themselves for division champs. It's gonna be Washington most likely.
Yeah, it'd be Washington again.
That's the best possible outcome, because I don't want Minnesota or Green Bay in the first round.
No, not right.
I want this team to get a little footing, going. Have Tampa play Green Bay or Minnesota.
Tell you what, I wouldn't love to see Tampa.
No,
Tampa's playing some good football.
They absolutely destroyed the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on seeing Tampa.
So looking around, it's like, sure, Washington in the first round's nice, especially if we beat them this weekend. We'll have 2 wins over them already. They'll be coming back to the link. The link will be rocking.
Hard to beat a team 3 times.
It is hard to beat a team 3 times, but like I said, I'd rather them than Green Bay or Minnesota.
Or for sure.
Starting off, I'm okay playing them. Don't get me wrong, but like I'd like to establish a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at just coaching for coaching. I mean, I think Matt LaFleur's done a phenomenal job with what he's got out there in Detroit and Green Bay this year. That's not an overly talented football team, especially offensively. Josh Jacobs has been good, but you lose Tonyan right away. I mean, your top receiver is Christian Watson, who's really come on.
That's a blast from a pass. Tonyan, I think it's Luke Musgrave you're talking about.
Yeah, it's Luke Musgrave. You're right.
Tonyan was giving me flashbacks. I remember that, man. The Bears uniform. Jeez.
Yeah, Musgrave you lost right away, but he's done a lot with a little, I guess, as well.
Tucker Kraft's been really good though. So
yeah, and then obviously O'Connell in Minnesota is a really.
But we have a win over them already. So like we've seen the squad before. Certainly, it's different now. They're implementing more Josh Jacobs than they have. I don't know if you watched any of that Sunday night game, but that first drive, they just said, let's give the ball to Josh Jacobs as many times as we can, and let's see what happens.
But it's a mirror. Like, the Eagles love ball control football. I'm not real keen on seeing another team that plays that way, because we fortunately haven't had to do it much, but watching this Eagle team, how confident do you feel in them closing a 2-score gap? Because I think we do a lot of things well. That's not one of them.
No, that is not one of them, especially with a clock-eating team like Green Bay. I feel like there's definitely this 2017 kind of felt like the dream year. Like everything was going right. Like there was like no holes to poke except, Tom Brady, who's obviously the greatest of all time.
And the starting quarterback tearing his ACL.
Yeah, but we started to believe again. We built that back up. Minnesota happened. We're like, okay, this is amazing. We could do anything,
Mm-hmm.
We could take on this big challenge in the Super Bowl, and we got this. And of course, we came out with a win. Now it's
I don't feel that way this year.
I do not either. There's so many challenges in front of us, and whoever comes out of the AFC is going to be really tough too. Josh Allen got engaged. Now he's Superman. Like
he's the MVP this year.
Yeah, I mean it hurts to say it's not Saquon, but
it's not. Unfortunately, I mean because the Eagles would still be really good without him. Not as good, but really good. Dude, Josh Allen is willing a pretty. I won't say mediocre because they got some guys, but he is dragging this Buffalo team to the record that they have.
He's incredible, and he's someone we're gonna have to watch out for if we make it all the way. Because ideally, we said this way back when: Buffalo, Kansas City, Philly, Detroit, whoever wins. And now it doesn't look like that in the NFC side a little bit. The Lions are still great, but obviously the injuries. But
I think it'll be Philly, Minnesota.
That'd be something at the link.
Yeah, I mean the link so we talked about that briefly. Take 17 out of it for a second, even though that would be a lot of the atmosphere. If you look at the matchups, Minnesota is coming in with one of the best receivers in football, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. You can have that debate for hours on it. And then you got Jordan Addison on the other side. And then you're coming into Philly with these two hotshot young rookie corners. And in the story, who's going to give first? Is this going to be the Quinyon Mitchell game where we go, holy shit, somebody clamped up Justin Jefferson? Is it going to flip? And is that going to evolve into the NFL moment? I mean, there's so many storylines to be had in that game alone.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to get a great playoffs, especially for our team. I just think it's going to be a great playoffs, at least on the NFC side, because I think the NFC is better than the AFC this year. I think I can confidently say that, but I feel like the AFC could easily win the Super Bowl because they have two top teams as well. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes left, and the Phillies did actually do something just before we started the podcast. So I wanted to make sure I addressed that. Philly fans have been clamoring for a splashy move this offseason. So we went out and got Jordan Romano. When healthy, one of the best relievers in baseball. Problem is, last year he was hurt half the season, and then the half the season that he did pitch, he pitched to a 7 ERA. So kind of a risk-reward signing there. Definitely not a splash. Today, Max Kepler and the Philadelphia Phillies are in agreement to a 1-year, $10 million contract. Kepler is the 31-year-old corner outfielder from Minnesota. So, Kepler in 2023 was great. OPS over 800, 24 homers. If you get that guy, you're stoked about this deal. Problem is, Kepler in 2024, much worse. OPS almost 200 points lower than the year before. So there's a bit of a pattern of the Phillies taking these prove-it deal guys, and I'm a prove-it deal guy. I don't hate it. I think we've seen it work enough. Kelly Oubre comes to mind. The Eagles have been full of them.
Yeah, but where has it worked for the Phillies is the real question.
Baseball's different. And I don't think this is a team that's prove-it deals away from where they need to be. I mean, just look at this. We'll look at this move in a vacuum right now. What do you think about new corner outfielder coming in? Kepler has been a really good MLB player for the most part. Bad year last year. Move the needle. Are we excited? Do we care? What do you think?
Look, it's really tough to get excited about this Phillies team after what they did and what you see the rivals doing. Juan Soto, of course, we know about that, to the Mets. The Braves are going to get healthy again. Obviously, they had a little bit of a down year, but they were down about everybody at some point last year.
And they lost Max Fried.
Yeah, they did lose Max Fried as well, but they're going to get that lineup back in order with Acuna.
Yeah.
Albies was hurt for a little bit. I believe Riley had a short stint in the IL as well. So like they're gonna get those guys back. And of course, like sure, Max Kepler, if you get the 2023 version, it's great. Jordan Romano, if you get what he was, fantastic. But it feels like it's panic time for the Phillies. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of got that sense where they need to make a move, and certainly there's still guys out there, but I'm very concerned.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I'm torn because look, I don't think we need to go break the bank for Alex Bregman. I think what they're asking for him is ludicrous, and he's not that much. I mean, to get him, we're looking at a $200 million contract. I do not think he is 5 times the player Alec Bohm is. He's better. Don't get me wrong. He's absolutely better. But Alec Bohm's not a bum. My issue with what we're looking at with this Phillies team is they should have, the players, the organization, well, right now with the organization, Dave Dombrowski should have been embarrassed by how October went. I mean, that should have been the lowest point of your Phillies tenure. And we're walking through probably his least aggressive offseason. And it's hard to kind of square how those two fit together.
I'm kind of iffy on. So there's a lot of owners that could get involved, and maybe the payroll. I'm more so from the trading prospect side. Maybe that's a call from up top. I mean, I don't necessarily hate it because these guys are pretty good, but like at the same time, you got to make your choices.
I mean, I do see your point a little bit. The Garrett Crochet deal, I think, for a lot of Phillies fans, was the most concerning one for me because that wasn't a king's ransom.
See, that's the thing, though. It kind of was. If the prospect rankings don't necessarily update all the time, I don't know if they re-update it, but if they weren't, I think these guys were higher. So, like in comparison, I saw someone saying that would be like Aiden Miller and Crawford.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess after the update,
with the
possibly. Initially, it was a high level and 2 mid-level prospects with whatever their previous rankings were.
Yeah, I heard from the Phillies side that would be like Crawford and Miller in this deal. So I think the rankings kind of did it in for a couple of fans, which I don't blame them because they look and they say, "Oh, we could have done this,"
Yeah, I mean, and look, it's tough because do you want to? I mean, I'm not typically a sell the farm guy, but what are we playing for? Like, because when you look at the way this team's constructed, Harper is in his prime, but we're not starting his prime. I mean, he's been doing this a long ass time. He came into the league before he was 20. Trey Turner, you're visibly seeing the signs of regression. JT Realmuto, last year was not a great year for JT. He's going to be a mid-30s catcher. Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, both guys with a ton of innings under their belt. Like, you're running right up to the red line on this team. If you're not going to win now, then you almost have to do what the Sixers did back in 12 and just understand that we missed our window and rebuild. Like, I'm not saying they got to rebuild, but
you can't do that in baseball, though.
No, but I'm saying it seems the value we're placing on prospects doesn't accurately reflect how urgently this team needs to win.
I agree, and maybe that could be some prospect misevaluation, player misevaluation. I don't know if you saw that Passan report where they said teams are not valuing Alec Bohm the same way the Phillies do.
The reason that report came out, I'm sure you saw this. I'm pretty sure Dave offered Bohm for Mason Miller pretty close to straight up, which is bananas.
Yeah, it's a little bit bananas. Mason Miller's like the guy. So
he's probably the best player in baseball right now. So, I mean, well, no, it's not. Sorry, I know but it's still a ludicrous trade-off.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I make in my like MLB The Show franchise. I'm like, let's do this. Like,
yeah, and even the computer wouldn't do it. You'd have to put force trades in.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it feels like not a lost offseason at this point, but it feels like it's getting there. And like I don't like that feeling. Running it back won't work. Like the Mets just dominated us, plain and simple. And they added one of the best players in baseball. Like,
yeah.
I mean, they're probably going to lose Pete Alonso. They're probably going to lose a couple other pieces. So maybe that lineup isn't as potent as we think it is when they start to lose these guys, and the rotation isn't spectacular either. It got it done though against us. So
yeah. So here's we'll end on this. I just caught this. Jack Fritz, who for the Phillies I tend to like for his other. I'm not a big WIP guy. I've been very vocal about that. I like Jack. He's thinking that this isn't like a platoon bat. Like you and I were kind of talking about taking a chance on a guy bounce back.
I thought he's taking Austin Hayes' spot.
That's what I always thought that too. Apparently, the thought is that he's going to slot into right, Marsh in center, and shift Caspi to left, which I think makes absolutely zero sense. That's just me. Castellanos is a decent right fielder. I'm not putting him in left.
I don't like that. I don't like it at all.
I think you still got to go out and get what would make me happy is getting a left fielder that is on the same plane as Castellanos. Somebody Castellanos-esque in left field. We don't need another star. I get that we've already spent a boatload of money on stars, but you gotta get somebody better than a platoon back left.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'd love to pay for Santander and have him hit homers all the time in the bank.
I would love that.
Like that's like the dream. I know it's like exactly what we don't need is like another home run or bust guy, but like,
or I mean, we missed out on Belly too. Belly would have been awesome.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, it makes me think it's a money thing because he went for nothing in terms of prospects. So it makes me think that there's a money thing going on in Philadelphia with all these stars being paid.
Yeah, because he was another one that deal was doable on our end. And Bellinger, that's what I'm talking about. Bellinger's not. It's not Harper. He's not Soto. He's at probably 2 tiers down. But he would make a difference. He would come right in day one and make a difference. I'm not seeing that move yet.
Oh, I'd love to see him hitting 5 or 6 in this lineup. Like, it's another lefty bat, though.
Yeah.
That's why I want Santander so bad.
Me too. I don't give a shit that he can't field. Who cares? Hit enough. Let's throw it back to 2022. Just hit bombs. We'll deal with fielding later.
I think, yeah, you have to make a choice. I mean, at this point, it kind of feels like they're towing the line between, hey, we want to win a World Series, and hey, it's not our year. And I don't like that. You push one way or you push the other. And with these group of guys that you have, with the paychecks that Turner, Harper, Real Muto, Castellanos are getting, you're shoving for the series. I mean, like you said, I love prospects too. They're great. They're the mystery box from Family Guy,
Yeah.
Is it a boat or is it a box? But at the same time, I have such bad memories, and you know exactly who I'm going to be talking about in about 2 seconds here. Dominic Brown, the prospect thing just haunts me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's one. Maikel Franco's another. Like the list goes on of guys that we thought were going to save us.
Yeah, but Dom Brown was like number 1 overall at some point. I'm pretty sure. Like that just gives me like, I understand it happens and it is what it is. I'm not blaming him, but like, it just stings when you think about that with the prospects because
the shortstop who flamed out here right away. He was supposed to be the heir apparent to Jimmy Rollins.
I'm too bit. Cesar played second, so that's what I'm thinking.
No, God, he went to the Mariners and just turned out to be the
J.P. Crawford. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
It was supposed to be just wait till this guy comes up. Just wait till he gets here.
He's been good in Seattle, though. I'll give him that. He's great
defensively. He's not a great hitter, but
he's not a great hitter, but he's great in the bases. It is what it is. He's a good player. I don't regret missing on him because now we have Turner, who, yeah, of course, he's showing signs of regression, but that's the Phillies' plan here. That's what I'm thinking. They're shopping Bohm. Aiden Miller is
probably
third base. He can play third base. Like that's what they're doing here. Castellanos and Schwarber's contracts are coming up. Crawford's going to take one of those outfield spots. Like I think they're looking in the future a little bit, and I don't know what I
But
think.
You can't punt on this year. That's what
You
drives
can't
me
punt on a
crazy.
potential World Series or bust year. It's
You got two of your horses up top are in their 30s and consistently throw 180 to 200 innings a year. I mean, look, Nola and Wheeler have both been sensational. They've both been workhorses, but I mean, you can't keep thinking you're going to get this every single season.
Yeah. I have to say the best move we've done in the last calendar year was that Christopher Sanchez extension.
Yeah. Get him locked up before he knew how good he was.
For the money, I mean, he's been really good. I hope if Ranger bounces back.
If they keep him.
Who knows what the Phillies are going to do? They confuse me, man. And their moves don't signal, hey, what we're going to do. Like the Mets or, some of these other teams, what they're doing right now. The Cubs are just kind of doing the same thing, but they have Kyle Tucker to replace him. The Yankees are saying, hey, we got to replace Soto, Devin Williams, Cody Bellinger, Max Fried. Like the Phillies don't have anyone to replace per se, but the clock is ticking. Real Muto is my big concern.
If catcher's your big concern, I mean, I think, look, JT Realmuto still has another year or two of being a great catcher. If he doesn't, that guy's already in-house. Rafael Marchand is one hell of a catcher.
I know. It's more so like the money that we're paying JT. It's like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying JT's been worth it. He's been worth it. It's just we're starting to see that sign of decline with these guys a little bit. I don't like
That's what I'm saying. That's why we can't look to the future. We don't have one.
I know. It's going to be back to the 10 years of sadness again. And
because John Middleton's been very clear from the get-go. When he feels like this team is blank away, he'll spend what he needs to spend to get it done. And he did it with Trey Turner. That's what I think.
So he doesn't think that.
No.
I mean,
I think he thinks this roster should be good enough as it sits. And it should, but the guys on it twice now have come up short.
All right, I don't mean to be a hater here, but I think I'm going to come off as a hater. Roki Sasaki is taking a meeting with the White Sox. How can we not get a meeting with him?
I have no idea. I mean, he's another one, though, from what I've at least heard, that would be a minus in the outfield.
I'm talking about the pitcher. I'm just saying, like,
who's the other? There's an outfielder coming in from. Oh no, I'm not coming. He's already here. The Red Sox are shopping. What the hell's his name?
I can't think of the guy because I'm thinking of Tyler O'Neill, who's currently taking Santander's spot, which means Santander is going somewhere else.
I'm thinking of Masataka Yoshida.
Oh yeah, he was hurt for a good bit last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, good hitter, can't field to save his life, but you already have 4 of those.
Yeah, so like I'm saying, like, I mean, what is the game plan here? I know we're way over on time, but like, is it say, hey, we're gonna run back the same squad if they don't do good? Oh well, then it's Schwarber's contract is up. Castellanos has a year left. We could trade him. We could trade Bohm. Aiden Miller's coming up. Like, is that the game plan here?
It almost feels like it. It feels like I think John Middleton thinks feels like he already took his swing.
Unfortunate.
It seems to me that a team that already had Bryce, Schwarber, Casty, Nola, Wheeler, and Realmuto, and when he went out and did that $300 million deal for Turner, I think that felt like his chip push to the middle. And look, I don't completely disagree with him. I think this team is talented enough to win the World Series. The issue that I think he's overlooking is this iteration of the team has already failed to do that 3 times. So I'm not saying you got to go get Juan Soto or something of the sort, but you got to shape the team up.
I'd say 2 years. I'll give them a pass on that. That they outperformed expectations that first year. I'll give them a pass on that. Like they did. We thought they were going to go out in the wild card division series. They went all the way. So like, sure, that's whatever. But these last 2 years have been really, really bad. So maybe you could say 3 and count these last 2 as 3 because of how bad they were.
Yeah, but you've seen. I guess my thought.
You've seen this team before, and you've seen them fall short 3 times in a row. I understand what you're saying.
Exactly.
They need a shake-up, but you can't shake it up.
That's it. Just got to mix it up. I don't need Soto. You don't need another marquee guy. You do have enough of those.
I don't like that contract at all. So
no,
I wouldn't have paid that.
But you need somebody. You need a Teoscar Hernandez. You needed a Randy Arozarena.
Teoscar Hernandez is still a free agent, I'm pretty sure, but I think he's going back to the Dodgers. I feel like
publicly said that's where he wants to be.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? They're probably going to win again the next year. I mean, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't blame them. But all right, we got to go. It's been 45 minutes. The Philly. I did not expect to split this episode
It got into some really good conversation though, because we don't know where they're taking this team based on prior moves, and we kind of discussed and talked it out. So this is well worth the 15 minutes over, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. I just never expected us to split the episode evenly.
Evenly with a 12-2 football team.
Yeah, no shot. I'm glad that we did, and we worked out some Philly stuff. But next week we're off. It's Christmas. Everybody, y'all should be, tuned out of podcasts anyway. Spend some time with the family. Have too much eggnog. Spike it with something.
Watch some football, I guess.
Watch some football. Yell at your uncle. Whatever Christmas looks like
watch
to you.
Watch the Chiefs perform magic on the holidays.
Yeah,
they're gonna magic.
We'll be back the week after, I believe. That should be
the new year. Oh my God, we're not coming back till 2025.
Yes. So.
Time flies.
It does.
It's been a heck of a year for us, though. I've enjoyed every second of it, and here's to making 2025 a better one. So.
Yep, it's been a great 2024. Thanks to everybody who's listening, and we will continue to work and improve the show in 25. But for the last time this year, I'm Brandon. He's Ryan. This is the Passing Report. Happy